Hi everybody, today I'm going to talk to you about two separate things because they're both quite short and I can get them both in one little video, I hope. The first one is black-eyed children, or black-eyed kids as they're sometimes called, and the other one is Bigfoot. Okay, before I start, I would like to say that you may have noticed up on the whirligigger above my head and over here, we're advertising our site, which is completely free. It's www.thestairwaytofreedom.org. Stairway to Freedom will be in one word, of course, .org. And I wanted to say that we've got a second site now, and it's called www.thegreatwhitebrotherhood, all one word, thegreatwhitebrotherhood.org. Okay, and if you go on either of those sites, you'll find masses of information that may help you. Okay, now let's get on with this. Black-eyed children or black-eyed kids. Black-eyed kids are quite simply a low-powered demonic force that has been summoned by black magicians in an experiment to destabilize humanity as we move into the light of God flooding the galaxy. All this comes from the Great White Brotherhood, of course. The idea was created not so much to have a few people possessed, but to make these events public and frighten the general public. Fear is food for archons. These creatures, these thought forms that black magicians create that assume a sort of physical reality for a few minutes. Right, I'll start again. These creatures are thought forms that black magicians create that assume a sort of physical reality for a few minutes. So they appear solid, but are in fact thought forms of a very negative nature. This experiment, which was promoted by evil people that we call the Cabal or the Illuminati, is having a certain success. Hang on, I'm having a job reading this because I've just got the written bit. A certain success as the knowledge concerning them is made public and is causing a certain degree of fear. But quite simply, black-eyed children are a demonic force that assumes the form of these children. The reason that they have... Right, let me just stop there and explain what that's all about. There are black magicians that are employed by this Cabal people, this Illuminati, to create as much problems as they can, because if you followed not only what I tell you via the Great White Brotherhood, but what other people tell you, the galaxy is being flooded by positive forces. We are moving into a time of positivity, which nothing will stop. It's like a pendulum swing that happens. We go into darkness and then we come back out into light. It happens over long periods of time, and it just so happens that we're going through the beginnings of moving into this period of light. So the Illuminati know that their time is over, and they're doing all that they can to slow it down. By one of the ways they do it is hire these black magicians to create these demonic forces that we see as black-eyed children. Okay, but they are not real. They're a creation of very powerful black magicians. Okay, now let me go on to the last bit because it's quite a short thing. But quite simply, black-eyed children are a demonic force that assumes the form of these children. The reason that they have black eyes is that the eye is the mirror into the soul. And as these evil ones do not have a soul, their eyes cannot be made like your or my eyes. Thus the eye is lacking, and it's just a black area. This is lack of any spiritual light that shines in the eye. If there is no soul, there can be no eye. Okay, that's fairly evident, but I'll just sort of explain it a little bit, that we have something we call a soul. It's actually the Spirit of God, the Logos that I mentioned in other videos. And these demonic forces don't have that. So as the eye is connected to the soul, if you don't have a soul, you don't have an eye. That's why they just have this black area where their eyes would be if they were real people. Okay? Now, that's all I got. It's fairly self-explanatory, and if there's any questions about it, please ask. But I'm going to go on to Bigfoot now. Once again, it's not very complicated. This creature that is sometimes seen in remote areas of the world, that has a variety of names, is variously described as being a huge, hairy, ape-like being, and is attributed to having psychic powers. Sorry, I haven't had the chance to sort of read this since I wrote it some weeks ago. I'm going to start all over again. This creature that is sometimes seen in remote areas of the world that has a variety of names is variously described as being a huge, hairy, ape-like being, and is attributed to having psychic powers, is one of the entities that has lived for a long time under the earth in the vast caverns. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that I've mentioned that there are the reptilians that live under the earth in these huge caverns. There's also, I've got hopeless memory for names. There's also another group that have started to come out and work closely with the people to improve matters. And there's also, now what do they call them? The tall whites, I think. I think they're another group that actually live, they're not space people, they live under the earth. So these Bigfoot are creatures that live under the earth. So Bigfoot frequently comes to the surface to feed, but is, once again, a close relative of humanity. The directors of life, they're the beings that create all life everywhere, as we have stated when talking about reptilians, excuse me, originally created a number of beings in their experiments with life forms. Some of these have died out for various reasons, and some have managed to survive. Bigfoot is one of the ancient species that has managed to survive by living under the surface of Earth and has thus avoided the inevitable conflict with man that other species faced. You know that we tend, giants don't live under the ground, but we've done our best to wipe out giants for some reason, and we tend to do that with any Neanderthals were another group of beings that lived on the surface, but that we've fought and eliminated. That's what we're like. So this race has survived virtually unchanged for a long time, for longer than modern man has existed. Now, they are a shy and peaceful race, wary of man who they consider to be aggressive. They breed, as do all mammals, and care for their young with great love. Their lifespan is long, but like all things, they die, and their bodies are taken into underground caverns and disposed of with dignity. Can I have a swift drink of... Thank you very much. They have developed the gifts of the spirit, which, if you know what the gifts of the spirit are, they're telepathy and teleportation and all sorts of things. And can do a number of things, such as moving into the etheric realms and thus becoming invisible to man. They can also read the intentions of man and thus know if man intends them harm or not. Contact with humanity has been less than peaceful, although if man could get over his fear of them, there could be some interaction. It has been claimed that they have been seen in UFOs, but as far as we, the Great White Brotherhood, know, they do not normally engage in contact with any alien forces. So, Bigfoot is a somewhat human-like being that contains a certain amount of DNA in his makeup, created by the directors of life, and share planet Earth with humans. Now, you may have noticed that people claim to have samples of hair and possibly even flesh of these Bigfoot, and it always, when they do a DNA test, it always comes back as, at least in part, human. That's why, because they're actually related to us. They are omnivorous and eat a variety of nuts, berries, fruits, and also animals when they can catch them. They do not cook their food, but consume it raw. They generally communicate telepathically amongst themselves, but some of them have learned a few words of languages and try to speak aloud. This ability to make speech sounds is limited by both their morphology and by their abilities to comprehend. Now, morphology means the shape of their larynx and all that. They can't speak as we do any more than dogs and cats and things really can. Okay? They are not very intelligent in our meaning of the word, but can survive easily both on the surface of Earth and in its caverns. They have been known to abduct children from time to time. The reasons are the same as humans abduct children. Now, I'm not too sure why people abduct children. I know that there are ladies that go into hospitals and take a newborn child. Why they do that, I don't know. Some emotional problem, I assume. But why people abduct children, I don't know. But whatever reason we do it, they do it also. Sometimes these children are returned unharmed, and others are never seen again. If a child expired from exposure, it is possible that they would consume the body. It is interesting that they often return the clothing of the infant, neatly folded in an obvious place for searching. Hang on, let me say this again. It is interesting that they often return the clothing of the infant, neatly folded in an obvious place for searching to find, indicating a degree of understanding of the anxiety of the humans searching. And that's the end of that. So, what do we make of it? Bigfoot are a race of creatures, somewhat related to us. Obviously, they don't look much like us, but somewhat related to us. And they live normally underground, but come to the surface to feed, and are seen by man. And they're frightened of us because we tend to shoot them when we see them, because we're scared of them. And I do believe that if we lived more peacefully, we would have more of a chance of making some contact with them, because I think they don't mean us any harm. It's just that we're naturally afraid of things that we don't understand. Let's hope that this explanation gives some understanding. But at the same time, I would say, if you go into national parks and things with children, keep a close watch on your children, because there are children that disappear, and it may be that these Bigfoot take them sometimes. There may be other explanations, I don't know, but you certainly don't want your children to be abducted by these creatures. Okay, so I'll stop there. So once again, any questions, just please ask, and I'll do my best to answer. Okay, so what did we do? We did black-eyed children and Bigfoot. Okay, I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.